Hi, I'm Peter Sidwell and welcome to Saturday's edition of Masterclass Junior. Now the kids are busy playing, doing homework hopefully, things like that. So I thought I would just cook with you guys. Today we're going to make an Asian inspired recipe. Now we've got gyozas, which are like a Japanese style dumpling, really delicious. They're actually vegetarian today's fillings, but you could swap them out. I'm using tofu, you could add chicken, minced pork, prawns, whatever you fancy. But I'll show you the principle of making the dough, making a filling. We're going to make some beautiful sweet and sour noodles. None of this glow-in-the-dark orange sauce that you get from the takeaway. We're going to make a proper sweet and sour. We're going to balance the flavours. Simple noodles, it's going to be delicious. And then, if we have time, we'll top it off with a creme brulee. But not a baked one. We're going to do a little cheats version, so it's actually all in the pan, and then we're going to just set it and blowtorch it. Be delicious. Right, so first of all, I've got 300 grams of bread flour. It's important you use bread flour, so you've got a high gluten level. And then I've got 200 mils of boiling water. It needs to be boiling, straight in, and then just stir it together, and we're going to make a dumpling dough. Now, if you've got any questions, post them on the Facebook feed and I will try and answer them straight away, or I'll answer them over the course of the weekend. So you can see, can you see that all right, Emily? Yeah? Yeah. Which one am I pointing to? That one over there you go. So you can see, it comes together as a bit of a sort of dry dough, and at first you'll think, oh, this is not going to work. But actually, if you keep mixing and then get your hand in, look, we've got a dough. Nice and warm, actually. It's really nice to the touch. So we're just going to knead it a little bit for a few minutes, because what we've got to do is develop the gluten. And that's why we use bread flour, so that it's got that stretch in it. Now, Emily's sat in a new place today for her editing, so hopefully she'll be able to, everyone will be able to hear her much better with her diamond questions that she always comes out with. Won't you, Emily?
Yeah, I do have a question, Pete.
Go on then.
Can you make this dough in advance?
You can, yeah, and you can make your gyozas in advance. You can make your gyozas in advance and you can freeze them. They're really good for freezing, actually. And you can steam them or you can pan fry them like we're going to do. But can you see the dough now? It's really smooth. I've not added any flour at all. I have just mixed it and the gluten is developing as we need it. Okay, that should do. If you see, roll it into sort of a bit of sausage shape and you should see it's become much more stretchy. Okay, so let's put that to one side and let it rest. There we go. Put that to one side. Right, let's turn our attention to the filling, because that's got to get a little bit of cooking. We've got to get all the moisture out of these things. Now, let's get a non-stick wok. So I'm just going to add a little bit of oil to my wok. There we go. Let's get it on full power. If you're going to use a wok, you need a good high heat. You need it on full whack. Get everything going quite quickly. Woks are all about quick cooking. Okay? So I've chopped all my ingredients. Because we're doing quite a lot today, I've kind of chopped everything in advance. So we're just cooking and chatting, really. So hopefully the kids will like this for lunch. So in with my ginger and in with my garlic. It's like the backbone of good Asian cooking, always seems to start with those. Just get myself a spoon. Oh, that'll do. Give that a good stir. Love the smell of ginger and garlic cooking. It's just the best. Just put the fan on a little bit. Right, now, let me talk this. Carrots, and then I'm going to get those in early, because I need the moisture out of them. The idea is that you cook all the moisture out of this, so you have a good firm filling. Okay? So, with my mushrooms, I've got oyster mushrooms. All I'm going to do is break them up with my hand. I don't need to chop them, because they will just break. Now, mushrooms are absolutely full of water, which is what we don't want. So we've got to cook it out, okay? And it's good, because I'm pulling them like this, they're going to have like a meaty kind of structure to them. But if you don't like the structure of that, just chop them up really fine. It's absolutely fine, no problem at all. Have you had gyozas before, Emily?
I had once,
Yeah?
but not vegan one.
No? Gyozas are really, it's like a good entry level to dim sums. They're not really as difficult as others. Some dim sums are really hard to fold and shape and pleat, whereas gyozas are quite forgiving. I always have them in Wagamamas. I miss Wagamamas. Lockdown. Are you all wanting a restaurant? I am. Me and the kids and my wife love a Wagamama's visit. Right, let's get stirring that. Well, not stirring it, just use your hand, toss the pan, get all those flavours going. Okay. Now, going to add a little bit of miso, which is going to give us a nice savoury flavour. Okay? You can add a bit of soy, but the problem is with soy is you're adding moisture. The more moisture you add, the more cooking you've got to do. Miso really is just a savouriness. It's a seasoning. It adds a savoury flavour to your food. Okay. Smells good. We'll give that a really good stir. Just kind of flatten everything out. The bigger the surface area, the quicker the cook. Right, so we're going to add our tofu. So it just breaks up really. It's more about adding substance really to this than anything else. So just break it up and it'll kind of give body to it. In with our spring onions. There we go. And we'll just give that a good stir. It is. Right. The good thing about gyozas as well, if you want to do some sort of serve vegetarian food, they're not even going to know these are vegetarian unless you told them. Because of the miso and the mushrooms and the meatiness of it all, people will think they're eating meat. Right. So, I'm just going to add a little bit of hoisin sauce now. This is going to add a little bit of sweetness to it and a little bit of body as well. If you haven't got hoisin, before Emily asks, add a mix of ketchup and brown sauce together and it kind of creates a bit of barbecue sauce. Works really well. Right. That's going to be our filling. Now I'm just going to give that a quick stir and then we'll pop it into a bowl and let it cool down. Now it's starting to smell good. Beautiful. There we go. So there's our our stuffing for our gyozas. I think it's pronounced gyoza. If I'm wrong, I'm going to find out. I'm sure. Right. So we'll let that cool down. Okay. Now, noodles. I like to just soak my noodles in boiling water to cook them, and that's it. And that's all I'm going to do on this while we make the sweet and sour sauce. And then we can just pull it all together really quickly. So I'm just going to cover these in boiling water and then leave them for 10 minutes and they're cooked enough.
Sounds like you're having a week.
You listen to men having a wee a lot, Emily. So if I cut this bit out. Right. Noodles covered in boiling water. Let's just leave those to one side. Now, let's make our sweet and sour sauce. Now I've got some apple cider vinegar, which I'm going to add in, and that will be our sour. Okay. And there we go. Then my sweet is going to come from ketchup and my little bit of colour, okay? So I'm going to use, to try and create that sort of orange colour. So we use a bit of ketchup. Now, a little bit of soy for seasoning, just to balance out, because we've got acid from vinegar, we've got sweetness from ketchup. We now need to bring in a little bit of saltiness from soy. There we go. And now we're just going to bring that up to the boil, and we're going to taste it. And you've got to taste it to understand whether it's sweet or sour enough for you. It's up to you. It'll be your choice. It'll be how you want it. Some people like it sweeter than others. So taste it. Always taste your food, and then you know where it's at. It's not for me to tell you it should be this sour or this salty. It's also not going to be bright orange, so please don't expect it to be. There we go. So let's get back to our gyoza dough. Now, a knife. We're going to cut these into portions. Now, the dough recipe that I've given you is probably going to make about 20 little dumplings, okay? So you want to portion it out. You could weigh it if you wanted to. So weigh the whole dough and then divide it down, or you could do it by eye. You know, if it's a wet, rainy weekend, which it is here this weekend, I believe, this is a good little job to do while it's raining. Okay, so portion them all up. You could actually freeze these little portions of dough as well, which works really well. So if you didn't want to make the dough, you could just portion it up, freeze them down, and then get them out when you want them. I've stolen one of your questions there, Emily, didn't I?
Yeah.
So, I've got lots of pieces of dough. It's a shame I haven't got the kids to help me here, actually. Never mind. So, let's move them all to one side. And then we will go through the technique of how we do this. Now, I've got a little bit of flour. Okay, I've got my gyoza dough. This one. Okay, so I've got a little ball of dough. And I'm just going to get my rolling pin. Sweet and sour sauce smells good. Okay, so let's just roll our gyoza dough out. So we've got nice little circles. Okay, it's quite a strong, elasticy dough, so don't be sort of afraid of it. Pop your filling in there. So about a tablespoon of filling, and then I'm just going to get some water. A little bit of water on your hand, and just with a finger, just wet half of the dough filling. So around the edges, okay? And then dry your hand off, and then all we're going to do is kind of pleat it and stick them shut. Now, if your hands are a bit sticky, get your hands in the flour, okay? And then just run your hands around like that, okay? And then you end up with a nice little parcel, okay? Now you could try and pleat these, you can make them beautiful, or you can just make them functional. It's entirely up to you. And then if you just want to be careful, just use a fork and pinch it down like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in a minute how to do a gyoza sort of pleat, but that is functional, and that will make sure that it all works and nothing escapes, okay? And gyozas are normally served upright like that. So it almost looks like a little Cornish pasty. So there's one. Let's do another one and see if I can get the pleat for you. I'm not promising.
Can you make these any bigger?
You can, but you need to sort of, traditionally they are small. They're supposed to be like little bite-sized pieces. I don't know whether they would work as big pieces. You just need to make lots and eat lots.
Yeah. And could you serve it with like you've done the sweet and sour sauce? Could you serve
Yeah, like a dipping sauce. Yeah. I mean, normally that's what you do.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take my sweet and sour sauce off the heat there. Normally you would have gyozas to start with, really. Yeah. But I'm just making it into a quick meal. My kids love sweet and sour, so I've added the sweet and sour noodles to it. Yeah. Okay, so I have a friend from Singapore, Lillian, her name is. And if she's watching, she's going to be critiquing my pleating. So I'm a bit nervous about this, but we'll give it a whirl. Okay, can you see this all right, Emily?
Just turn it towards the other camera.
Which one's the other camera?
That one over there.
The far one, yeah? So can you see? So what you do is you kind of push it forward and squeeze it together, like so. And then you push it forward. She makes it look so easy. And it's not easy, but if you've got the time, you know, have a go. Get on YouTube and have a go. But it isn't easy, and it's a really hard technique to explain, but you kind of push it forward, and as the two pieces on the outside, you sort of push them together. And this is why I am not a dim sum expert, because I'm not patient enough, but you can. It kind of looks a bit more. There you go. What do you think, Emily? Is that acceptable? Are you accepting that? You're accepting that? Yeah. I've actually just thought of another technique actually, so I'm going to try this as well. Because this is what it's about. Do you know what? They'll taste amazing no matter what. And as long as they're scrimped shut, as long as they've closed up, they're going to be delicious. So, let's get some filling. I'm more of an Italian guy, you see. It's more like a calzone to me. Okay, so.
Calzone meets dim sum.
Calzone meets dim sum meets Cornish pasta. What you tend to do is that. You fold it like that.
I thought that's what you were going to do first.
Yeah, I probably should have done that first. So you kind of create a Z shape as you fold it, and then you pinch it shut, like so. Oh yeah, you see, that's not bad. Let's get in there. There you go, you see? There's another one. Have you noticed as I'm putting them to one side, they're out of sight, so you don't actually see them? But no. Emily's zooming in on them as we speak. So, let's do one more.
What would be your favourite filling in these, Pete?
Oh, my favourite filling would be prawn. And I would like things like lemongrass and chilli and soy and lime and things like that. That would be my absolute favourite. And then I would dip them in soy sauce and lime juice. Because I really like that combination. You get like a real zing and fruity acidic hit. But then you also get the sort of saltiness. And then a little bit of mint. It's all very Thai.
Yeah.
There you go, that's not bad. I'm getting better. Each one's getting better. We could always swap, Emily, and you could do this and I could do the camera angles.
I don't think so. It's not going to happen.
One day.
Nope.
One day we'll get it.
The mystery woman behind the camera.
Right, so last one. Okay. A little bit of water. There's some fantastic YouTube videos on the actual folding techniques. So if you have the time and the patience, I would highly recommend that you go and have a look. But there you go, you sort of pinch. I think because I'm left-handed, I'm doing it wrong. Yeah. You see how I'm folding that? Can you see that, or is it just all my big hands?
Excuses, excuses.
I know.
You never normally give me excuses to a left-hander.
I know. It's all right, let me move those over to one side, and later on me and the kids will make some more. Otherwise this will be a very long video. Right. So. Oh, don't say that. Only chopping though, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing else. What time are we on?
25 to 5.
Alright, okay. Right, so noodles.
Right, 1 second. Right, we're 22 minutes. We're on about like 18 minutes. Assuming. Is there much to do?
On the creme brulee? No. I'm just about to cook the gyozas now. And noodles, and then that bit's kind of done, and then we just got to quickly make the creme brulee.
Do you want to swap the pans out?
Yeah, I'm going to move that one out of the way now.
Okay. to.
In a sec. Right. Okay, so gyozas are made. I'm going to cook those in a minute, show you how to do that. Now, my sweet and sour sauce is here, and my noodles are soaked. So all I've done is soak them in boiling water, and that's it. Okay? So I'm just going to grab my spaghetti spoon, and all we're going to do is just lift them out and into the sauce. And if I'm honest, the residual heat on this is nearly done. That's pretty much it. There's very, very little to do on this. There we go. And then I've got a handful of spring onions chopped up, which I just think is lovely. Raw spring onion, delicious. I'm going to stir that together. You could add in some sesame seeds, you could add in roasted cashew nuts, whatever you like. But I'm going to put that to one side, because that is done. We'll spoon that out in a minute. Now, non-stick pan on the heat. Okay? And we're going to cook our gyozas. So I've got 4 here. That'll do, just to get us going. A little bit of oil, touch of vegetable oil in there. Not a lot, because we've got a good non-stick pan, so we don't need much. And the idea is that you pan fry them on the bottom, and then you steam them on the top, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to get a jug of water. It's all blowing Emily's mind a bit this today. Right. In with our gyozas. On the bottom, so the fold is facing up. Okay? Got this all right, Emily? Okay. So I'm going to turn the heat down, so it's on about 3/4. Okay, so we've got a decent heat, but we're not going to go mad. Can you see that already?
Yeah.
Yeah? So the bottom is toasting. That means we're nearly ready to steam now. Okay, so it is quick. Right, 2 or 3 tablespoons of water. Carefully pour this in. Not one for the kids, this is for the adults, this. Okay, because you're going to add water to oil that's in there. So be really careful. Put the lid on. Okay? Trap the steam in. Now we're steaming the rest of the dumplings, okay? Told you you'd like this, didn't I? Yeah, picked up our interest now. So we cook the bottom is nice and crispy, and then the top will steam. They only take 2 or 3 minutes to steam. So I'm just going to take my sweet and sour noodles, pop those on. Nice and simple. Good hit of just lovely, like no MSG in this. This is just proper noodles. All right. Lovely, sweet and sour, tangy. Going to be delicious. Then we will have our gyozas. I'm going to get a fork there for Emily because I feel like she's going to be on that.
I don't like this cake. Now it's good. It was always made with pineapple on it.
I know. I'm with you there. I remember what the I always thought, what's this pineapple doing in here? Have they like spilt it in there by accident? Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
But that smells lovely and fresh.
It is. It's just that balance of sweet and sour, which is what you want from, a sweet and sour dish. It's just getting that nice balance for you. Now, whether that's really sort of tangy, I quite like it quite tangy. Kids like it a little bit sweeter. So it's just getting it right for you, and it's all about taste. You taste it, you decide whether it is sweet or sour enough for you. Right, so there we go. Our dumplings are ready. Told you they don't take long at all. And you can see that the dough is steamed on the top, yeah? But we've got a lovely crispy base there. Okay? So I'm just going to pop that on there. So the kids will love these. Just be careful when you're cooking them because it's not necessarily one for the kids to do. When you're adding the water, you've got to be super careful. Okay? So get them filling them and you cooking them. Alright, so there we go. Now, Emily,
Yeah.
can you just pass me those black and white sesame seeds that are up there on that shelf, please? because I think they need some sesame. For me, I think that would just be lovely. I have black and white sesame seeds here. And you can get them really easily, but they just sort of bring everything together. But look at that. Lovely. They look good. They look really good. So, these are my sweet and sour noodles with our vegan tofu gyozas. If you want the recipe for this, go to masterclass.co on the website and you'll find it there. Now, it's time for dessert. Right, it's time for dessert. Now, creme brulee is one of those desserts. It's just really pure, simple. There's nowhere to hide with it. Now, normally you would cook a creme brulee in a bain-marie, but I'm going to show you a very quick, easy interpretation that is a little more forgiving, basically. I'll put it that way, really. It's not the classic. It's inspired by, and it's a way of making it great for the kids, okay? So, first of all, I've got my little recipe just over here because I need to remember. Okay, let me get a spoon. Emily, if you hear noises, it's Emily eating the gyozas, okay? Right, so I've got 250 mils of double cream or heavy cream if you are over the other side of the pond. Okay, which I know a few of you are, which is great, so thank you for joining us. Not sure what time it is over there, it could be all sorts of times. So, in with some full fat milk, okay, and we're just going to mix that together. Now, I went to the shops to buy a vanilla pod, and I couldn't get one, okay? Normally, I would put fresh vanilla in here, it's a real treat. Take the vanilla pod, cut it down the middle, and then scrape the insides out and pop it in, but I couldn't get any, so I got a good quality vanilla extract, and I'm going to put that in instead. So, in with the vanilla. Okay.
If you don't have vanilla, does it matter?
It doesn't matter. You don't get that nice vanilla-y, kind of rich flavour that you get from vanilla. Maybe a little bit of honey, so you could kind of go for a different flavour. You could do a little bit of lemon zest in there, perhaps, and a more acidic fragrance. But vanilla is just so good. Right, so while that is coming up to the boil, we're going to deal with our eggs. Now, we are going to use 5 free-range eggs, okay? So, I want the yolks, not the whites. Now, put the whites in a little bowl. So, if I crack these, so crack your egg in half, let the white fall out, and then transfer the yolk to the other half of the shell, and do the same again, and you end up with just the yolk. Okay, there we go. I'm sure we all know how to do it, but it's always good to be reminded of a technique. So, in it goes from one to the other, to the other. There we go. And the same again. Now, egg whites will freeze, so obviously don't throw these egg whites away. You can make all kinds of different things beyond just meringues, all right? You make lovely chocolate mousse. You can freeze your egg whites for a rainy day. You can do all sorts of things. So don't throw them away. Egg white omelettes, not a big fan, but you know, each their own. I think if you're going to have an omelette, have it with eggs. Right, so I've got 5 egg yolks in there, and I am going to put an extra one in just because. Now the recipe says 5. I feel these eggs are quite small because these are free-range eggs. They come from Embleton up the road, just as you get into the West Cumbria, and they're quite small. Delicious, but a little bit small. So for baking, sometimes you have to make that decision. Now I've got 100 grams of sugar going in. Okay, where's my whisk? There it is. Now, I'm going to whisk these together until they're nice and pale and light and fluffy. You like a creme brulee, Emily? You've never... You're not live. Just had her first gyoza, and now she's going to have her first creme brulee. Creme brulee is one of those things, as a chef, when you were learning and training, you had to learn how to absolutely nail this one. And it's kind of less is more. You just got to get it right. It's a bit like a poached egg. There's nowhere to hide. Yeah. You either get it right or you get it wrong.
I feel like I continue going so wrong
Well, I think the risk you run is souffléing them in the oven. If you overcook a creme brulee, it will soufflé. Because if you take eggs beyond a certain temperature, they rise. And that's what happens. Whereas the way we're doing it is we're controlling it a little bit more and we're not baking it. In a bain-marie, you know, where you get a big oven tray, you put your ramekins in, you pour the boiling water in, you pour them in, cover it with foil, and off it goes, and you cross your fingers and hope. And if you forget it, they soufflé. And if they soufflé, that's when they drop. Whereas this way, it doesn't work like that. So, our eggs, get those yolks nice and whisked. And the more you whisk them, the creamier this becomes. And you want to really whisk them until the sugar is completely dissolved in there. Love these jugs because you actually got a handle, you know, when you're whisking away. They all nest inside each other. They're brilliant. Really, really good. Ooh, no. Really? No, cold. Once we've made this, set it, and then blowtorch it? No. That's like custard. It's just what eating custard. No. No. Ignore her. Listen to me. Right. Now, corn flour is going to help support the setting of this, okay? Because we're not cooking it in the oven, we're just going to do it this way. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of corn flour, and we're going to whisk that in as well, okay? But can you see how like nice and creamy that's gone now, yeah? Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. Nice and creamy. Now, let's crank the heat up on our milk and cream. Now you have to be careful when you're heating milk and cream because the proteins drop to the bottom of the pan and they burn, and that's why you have to be careful when heating it up and give it a good little stir around, but just treat it with a little bit of tenderness. Don't expect it just to boil the life out of it and it'll be okay, okay? You need to warm it through gently, but get it up to a good temperature because we need the heat of the cream to thicken our eggs and our corn flour. And once we've taken it from hot cream into eggs, whisked together, then back into this pan to then continue the cooking process and thicken it all up. It's a little bit like creme pâtissier. Have you had that before? Where it's like a sort of thick, rich, stable custard that bakers and patisserie chefs use to then sort of carry flavours and all that sort of stuff. So, we're nearly there. So I've got a decent sized ramekin here so I can show you the process. And I've got my blowtorch. Where's my blowtorch? Here's my blowtorch and my sugar. All good kitchens need a blowtorch for many things other than creme brulee. But creme brulee seems to be the one. Can you see inside that pan, Emily? Yeah? So you see it's just coming to the boil now, but you can you see the proteins there that are just starting to sit on the bottom of the pan? That's when it's going to scorch. So it's at that point that we need to sort of make sure that we don't burn the cream and the milk. And it's up to boil now, so in it goes. Okay? Give it a really good whisk. Make sure the eggs and the cream are all evenly distributed. And then, and only then, if I show you that pan, you can see none of the proteins have sat on the bottom of that pan, so I'm all right to transfer it back. If you feel like it's caught a little, use a different pan because it will only get worse, okay? And it will scorch and you'll have that horrible burnt milk flavour running all the way through, and it's exactly what you don't want. This is about creamy, vanilla-y, sweet eggs that are kind of set, a lovely custard. And then we're going to top it with a nice, bitter, sweet caramel topping. So, whisk it together, keep it moving. Don't let it sit in one place on the pan. That's when it'll burn. Ooh, I'm going to whisk it up so it's nice and light and fluffy. I can see it starting to thicken. You kind of feel it starts to sort of show some ribboning. I'm going to get loads of questions about this, I know I am. Everyone loves a creme brulee. And everyone's like, oh, how do you do a really good one? Right, I'm going to get a ladle so that I can transfer some of this. It's a good one to freeze this as well, actually. Because it's stable with the corn flour, or corn starch, I think you call it in America.
And you just let it defrost?
Yeah, just let it thaw out overnight. What's really nice is, for the grown-ups, espresso in this. A really creamy coffee custard creme brulee. Oh my goodness. And then do your sugar topping and then roasted hazelnuts on top. Amazing. Good dinner party dish, that. But make them thaw them out. I used to do this for banqueting for 300, and we used to make them all in little ramekins, like in little plastic molds that were freestanding, and we used to pop them out frozen onto the plates and let them thaw out so they were freestanding creme brulee. And because they were frozen, they would just pop straight out and they would just sit there and they were easy to transfer. When you were doing 300, believe me, you need to be organised for that. Right, almost there. So you can see it's just started to thicken now. That's it. Take it off the heat. And what we're going to do is transfer it into our ramekin moulds, okay? But you can see, look at that beautiful, thick, stable custard. So all we're going to do is run our ladle on the side and then just pour it in, okay? I know.
See, warm custard is such a good thing.
Warm custard. Cold custard's a weird thing.
Cold custard's also good.
No.
Yeah.
But there you go. Give it a little tap. What that does is it gets rid of any of the air bubbles, because when you were whisking it, yes, you were moving everything around so it didn't burn, which is brilliant, but now it's got a little bit too much air in it. So when you transfer it, little tap, and that is it. Now all you need to do is pop that in the fridge for a couple of hours and it will be set just perfectly. But for the sake of what we're doing, and Emily likes warm custard, I'm just going to sprinkle some sugar on.
See, would you use caster sugar? Can you use any other sugar?
No, you can use. The only difference is caster sugar is ground slightly finer, so it will caramelise quicker. What you're better off doing is having a really good blowtorch that you can caramelise this with. Now, this one is brilliant. Chefs love big, powerful blowtorches. This one from Masterclass is fab. You just fill it up, press the button, and we're off. Look, and I can move it around, and I've got serious power, which is what chefs want from blowtorches. A lot of instant heat, and move it around really, really quickly. Do you see how I'm rotating it around? Because what you don't want is one area to caramelise too quickly. You want the sugar just to come together, and it starts to sort of leopard spot there. And the darker it gets, the more bitter it gets. So you need to be really careful. And then take your heat away. There you go. And just let it caramelise. And it's important that you do this just before serving it, because you want that caramel to just go nice and crisp, and you want that crack. So when you sit down and eat it, you've got this sheet of caramel glass on the top, and you just want to crack through it. But there you go. Let me grab a spoon, because I think Emily's going to need one. And the kids are going to love this. But there you go. That is how to make a really simple creme brulee without the worry of souffle in it, in bain-maries and things like that. It's a great system. You can add loads of different flavours to it. Chocolate ones, coffee ones, elderflower ones later on in the summer. That'd be nice. You can put fruit at the bottom if you like. Bailey's, Irish cream, that would be a good one as well. But there you go. Now, if you want any of the recipes, please go to masterclass.co. You will find all our recipes from our Masterclass Junior sessions, but you will find tons more recipes on there as well, with loads of amazing equipment that helps my cooking here. So thank you very much, and I will see you next week on Facebook, supper at 6 on Wednesday with the kids.